弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛。把握时间，我们先分享一下阿弥陀佛。阿弥陀佛，我们继续。这个成员存取运算子，为什么要叫成员存取运算子？因为那个在资讯安全上，对不对？你准不准许人家存取你的成员啊？是要有一定的权限的啊，这叫 access。其实这个 access 呢，
access
啊，我这个 Microsoft Access 就资料库，我现在会摸这个程式都是从 Access， 一切都是从 Access 开始。对，今天刚刚值得一提的是，我注册了中国的博客园，是因为汉文博士啊。博客园，汉字收藏。汉文博士，然后有一个叫正汉文。然后就为了这个是他新版的嘛，就为了他这个我就留言了。发现他这个博客园他是大陆中国大陆他们那里专为程序员 coding 的一个应该算很高水准。我看他说审查要人工审查今天在黄佩荣老师那里用，因为他资料都开放了嘛部件构型，可我不知道如何打开他那个档案，所以来向他请教，然后就为了这个注册了这个。我这里就有介绍我们是怎么学程式的你看，2017嘛，刚好 Visual Studio 2017、2019、2019，真巧，没有2018。就那么巧，去年刚好我又没有想要学，本来想说跟程式的人就，他这个还有字数上限也不讲，就给我truncated 前面也学过，他这个可以忘掉，怎么那么快就当掉？网络又发生问题。暂停阿弥陀佛。少造业，多念佛，阿弥陀佛。我们继续刚刚脸书当掉，然后他那个影片好像还不见了对，完全不见了。对，阿弥陀佛，还好我现在讲闲话。我前面也录到，那是刚刚脸书当掉。那这个很巧这个你看这个没设它字大，可以。那怎么变小？只能放大。我们2017学习一下吧，2019学习加，刚好 Visual Studio 2017、2019就是没有20到。 来切换的那样。好。这也分这也出去好。这样。还有用户登录，那我首页，如果是这样的，没有。后来不登录，它不给看，就不用了。然后其他的首页奇怪，这个是。我的博客是还没有申请，它就要审查嘛，那这里说要人工申请、人工审核，还有这个控制那个品质，感觉蛮不错。也许大陆就这里，也许以后这个台湾就是 IT 帮忙吧。其实之前好像蓝色小铺还有微软的那个我也常去。这个博客是我的吗 ？blog。好，言归正传。那这个前面我就不重述了，你们看那个实境修谣他没当，才会提到我那个今天申请这个博客员嘛，因为我学整个，你现在我们会来读这个都是从 Microsoft Access 开始，那这个缘起又是杨果林学长，没有他的话我也不可能，这个老伙伴怎么可能？其实我对程式是有一点兴趣憧憬，可是。觉得高深莫测啦，望尘莫及。曾几何时，就好像当初对这个电脑，我觉得自己是电脑白痴啊。曾几何时，人家有电脑问题都问我了，好像我们是电脑神。那时候我们是白色的时候就很像哇，一有什么电脑问题都很依赖别人，很靠别人，时人能载歌。我硬体方面是。被一个我们附近的一个还自称我，他说他也是师大，他是数学系的学长，所以竟然坑我的钱啊！当然我们还是不把人家否定，可是我们心里有数就好，就是这样。一个光碟机给我装一个同样型别，那时候刚好我弟去逛了商场，把那个物价单带回来后，那我们知道同一个品牌，当然不同型号差很多，我就是对了品牌型号，还不敢相信，仔细对，真的。3倍价钱是，他卖的是人家光华商场3倍的价钱，你说多1倍或者多1半都很合理。光华商场何等地方，现在3倍，那我们就阿弥陀佛，就干脆我就是那时候毛起来就自修了，那时候是硬体部分啊，那软体是。像那个程式啊 ，VBA 啊，到 VB 几乎没有碰到什么 VB 是因为 VBA 衍生出去，真正自学的还是 VBA 和C# 和C++。那最扎实的就是这个 VBA 和C++，尤其 C++。VBA 跟着那个桂思强老师啊，他的书还学的还可以，可是还是有点离他老，因为那时候毕竟是初学，完全一点概念都没有。桂老师他也不是科班出身的嘛，他当然就是引导我们先入，就好像这本书，他说他的特色也是我们不要先讲理论，先讲一点实例，确实我觉得真的有差。可是他虽然是这样，可是感觉他就是从基层也是慢慢给你看打到现在这样，我很少 除了去年学自修西夏嘛，我主要是不想买书嘛，反正网上资源那么多，就看微软的官方文书，然后就开始读这个原文书，也是可以。那可是问题是这个循序渐进，毕竟一本书它会帮你安排好。我看我们今天晚上我早一点，因为肚子好像有点饱，可是它4.6节这一节很短，接下来就条件运算子。接下来位元运算子会比较长而已，有点快的话我们还可以。那接下来你看156页中文版，size of 我们用过，计算那个阵列的大小哈，原来那也是一个运算子。好，那你对成员承取，因为这个资讯安全嘛，你不能随便都可以承取，所以它的名字叫 SS。那存取这个也是文言文啊，存是存进去，取是取出来的，啊，它是反义副词，哦，你不要把它当白话文一个词又把它划过去。所以你看文言文为什么必要？你光取名字你就不要讲这种专业术语，你取你自己的孩子名字绝对不会用白话文去取嘛。你不能说绝对不会，有人真的名字还蛮白的，毕竟少数啊。或者取得很白或很普通的，人家就会觉得啊 low 就很 low 嘛，对不对？不是说我们爱文言文说它好，人心里自然有一把尺嘛，不是有一个公定价嘛？哦，不是说哦一定要附庸风雅什么，没有谁假霸雄赢那么多附庸风雅，都是很实际。你看我学佛学的那么要做不要就不知道做，我这个小学黄恩林老师一巴掌的那个恩师，要做的就给他做好，对啊，不学佛就算嘛，以前毁谤三宝，别看我学的很入迷或怎样，我干嘛学佛呢？要就把它做好啊。可是你别看我们好像一般人，不要讲一般人，我都想到以前的我，看到我现在的我，一定就觉得好迷，对啊。你要讲随你怎么去讲，人家讲一讲你就退心了，那是谁的问题，对不对？那你看我们好像很迷信，可是资讯科学总是科学，没有人说资讯人文，资讯宗教嘛，就讲资讯科学，资工系。一个人要这样才行，不能光科学只一点人文宗教素养哦，也不能光只有人文宗教，然后一点科学底子。我的优势就是，你看我中学我是读理工组，我本来是要考理工的，要考物理系为第一志愿，后来才因为人生的体悟，觉得学物理学科学解决不了人生的问题。我这方面跟净空老法师是有很接近的因缘啊，也许这样我才跟他那么投缘。点运算子23页，还有前面讲的箭号运算子，来解参考之后再点运算子的结合。23页。150页。所以 parenthesis 叫呼叫运算子。这箭号的话是在lvalue operator provide for member。点运算子和箭号运算子是提供了对成员的承取，对就 for。点运算子提取从一个类别型别的物件中提取它的成员，fetch。
fetches, fetches,
箭号定义的是P， 这个可见是指针指针箭号 member， 因为指针是指向一个对象嘛，一个物件所以那个对象物件一定也有成员嘛，所以他就直接指针也是 assigner， 就是这个意思嘛。可以翻成中文就是这个意思。指针被解参考之后，再点运算子提取那个成员。string one 等于 a string， 注意字串字面值不等于这个它只不过用字串字面值来给它初始化。那其实就是把字串字面值转型，对不对？前面有提到，它是转型为 string 值型别。我以前都有一个错误观念，以为这个就是 string 型别，是错的所以这个也可以作为那个 char， 我们试过了，对不对？那个字元阵列的初始，还有那个长值指针、长值字元指针的指向长值字元指针的初始化都可以。然后更妙的是，目前还搞不懂长值字元指针，只要用一个字串值指令，直接列印出那个指针。存取那个指针就是那个字串字面值，对不对？我们列印出来就。然后一个指针是用 S1， 因为已经先定义 S1 了，它的取值，千万记得我常说，这一定要是这个物件才能取值，不能是一个长值或字面值那用它来初始化这个指针，用编译器来判断现在 n 是什么型别。它的型别是由 S1 的成员 size 传回来的，然后 run the size member of the string S1 那 n 也等于解参考 P 之后再 size run size on the object to which P point to 这个 to 是 point to。实行在一个物件上面的 sign 这个成员，这个物件是一个 P 指针指向的物件，然后 n 第三个写法是这三个其实 equivalent P equivalent。第三个是 n 等于就是 assign 嘛，assign 的那个等级优先权都很低的所以都先执行这个。看解这个箭号运算子166页。4.12对不对？箭号运算子的等级哇很高同一条 member。第二等级跟点运算子，可见点运算子存取成员成员的那个运算子等级都很高，优先存都很高。对，总之是运算一个是 expression 里头，它会先评估这个点运算子的结果，然后所以写参考 P 之后，再这个就是这个嘛。再存取 sign， 注意这个就是前面我们看到的呼叫运算子，对不对？这应该是呼叫运算子的等级应该也很高，对不对？跟那个 subscript 下标一样，呼叫运算 function call， 对不对 ？type construction 型别的结构 type expression list name。刮胡这个等级都很高，就这5个5星上将。equivalent to 这个 前面那一个。because 解参考有一个低的，只有一个低的这个优先权。对于点运算子，我们必须将解参考刮起来，对不对 ？Exercise the reference sub 的子运算式。如果我们省略这个花弧的演化弧的话，这个 code means something quite different 它就会表示不一样的东西非常不一样的东西。他写的就是这个，对，这个什么意思？他先读这个 P 啊 ，P 完了，对不对 ？P 没有东西啊 ，P 是一个指针，它怎么会有成员呢？它的指向的物件才有成员就是错。P is a pointer and has no member named size， 它没有这个 size 成员。那 run a size member of P，and 它的意思就变成先执行这 P 这个指针里头的成员，然后再参考他们的结果。所以 parentheses 在这里很重要，要把它 parenthesize 起来解参考要先。这个运算式企图去截取一个 P 这个物件的这个 size 成员，然后 P 是一个指针，那指针是没有成员的。The code will not compile。这错误的程式码当然不会被编译器接受，它就不会被编译成功，建制失败。我们在那个 V96，它都是说 build 先是。指标是不会有成员。箭号运算子是需要一个指针型别的运算元，然后会产生一个左值。大 operator 有那点运算子是产生一个左值。左值其实就左址嘛。然后太快了。箭号产生左值，点运算子如果这个物件一个 object from 一个 object点运算子 存取成员的所属物件是otherwise，他直接说否则啊。这真的翻得不错哎，好厉害的人工智慧。就这样。习题。是 iterate is a vector string 的 vector 的 iterate 型别。如果这个 iterate 的变数是这个 iterate 型别 ，indicate which if any of the following expression are legal。下列哪一个表述式运算式是合法的、合格的？解释成对的运算式的行为，还有的结果，执行的情况、结果，还有为什么那些不是合法的运算式是错的？这里要用复式的哦。假设这个是。iterate 解参考是可以的，他会先执行这个。 昨天啊。我后来补上了这个人情啊，昨天还什么时候？这里弄一下，这个是20，我们现在是第几期？23期。那我还可以做这个词叫第什么集？先打这个2个字。第集是没有意思的，可是可以上阿拉伯的。哎呀，飘飘何所似？天地一沙鷗。这也可以当一般的句子。我就来选对，所以它有4个元素。那range， 把它里头的都印出来。ite 啊，哦，一定要 type name 哦，已经有了不能用啊。那这一定是不能用现成的。真的吧？那就这样啦。啊，没客气。倒过来写。对，那就 OK 了。S， 到我们vector 要生疏了吗？对呀，名起文章著光4个啊。for range for 不是这样写吗？这个变数啊，在这个等 svec 里头错。 嗯。auto 反而可以，怎么可能呢？那传回来不是它的指针吗？先哦，加竟然错了。string 加，这也不行。那 iter 它变成龙定，那是里头哪个成员的，不是 iter。iter 现在这个 iter 现在是 string 啊，iter 名岂文章著啊，那型别竟然还是这个，不是 string。名岂文章著，官应老病休，飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。真是要命！我刚刚那是干嘛？当然不对嘛，还是要用一般的 for。你要用 iter 一定要用一般的 for。for iter 等于 begin， 然后分号。不等于这个接下来就是它的 iter。这合法的嘛，只不过它非法，哎呦，哇，这省略掉，还要打一个啊？对了，当然，对，那个数据还没有，完全正确。名岂文章著分，它还是每一个，它这个意思就是说，我移动 iter 等于刚开始，那这个的话，它会加1往前移嘛，往前移一个位置，然后可是它现在这个后缀的是原来的值，那就是一开始的名岂文章著，所以把它解参考。然后当这个 iter 不等于这个的时候，就继续执行。完全正确，这个合法的嘛，那个没漏掉，这样就对了。那 iter 加加等于我们来飘飘何所似？这时候你看 iter 已经是天地一沙鷗了，它加加以后是天地一沙鷗而它现在印出来的还是飘飘何所似。那加加以后天地一沙鷗的时候，它还不是 end 嘛 ？end 是天地一沙鷗后面那一个，对不对？跳出来，已经开始弄错。官应老病休。刚讲的应该不需要，我去按到谁在开朗？是好，现在飘飘何所似是iter，那印出来的是飘飘何所似，可是它已经加加了，所以它是天地一沙鷗。那这时候还没有到尾巴嘛，就继续执行天地一沙鷗。那这时候再移动前一个，那它现在值还是因为它后缀还是天地一沙鷗那一个位置，你现在已经到达尾端，这个是正确。一题一题来啊。细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似？天地一沙鷗。细草微风 啊，危檣独夜舟，星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。突然有灵感就哼两首。1000多年了，人会死，人会老，你看这个还是这么有生命力吗？细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。现在刚才下雨，你们可能有听到这个雨声，正好这个很像，怎么说？寒食雨啊，苏东坡也是这样。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。好，这个第二题。桃绝山中十九颗，借来观火。不用，这个你看你在这里坐住哦，然后当然不是 editor， 怎么会是 editor 呢？用 editor。它会直接给你这个，你也可以点它，按住 Ctrl。第二题，细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。干脆就全部来了，对唱越有兴趣。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。你要平常要谱这个曲子哦，像2大便一样，对不起啊，不雅啊，不是很形象。怎么就不出来？可突然是不是若佛地下有灵啊？因为一般像韩愈他们都还在轨道嘛，章太炎先生为证，是章太炎先生说的啊。来第二题，把它这个当然不合法，你把它解参考之后，你怎么可以加呢？对啊，加是算术运算子才行吧？递增一个，你看，所以他是故意要出这个嘛， 只要是 int 的话，还可以加1。这个是这个，除非它有定义加的型别，我们试试看，因为我们对 string 也不是很了解啊，它也是不概述。细草微风岸，星垂平野阔。危檣独夜舟。要谢谢这阵雨哈，让我有这个灵感，可能刚好有那声音嘛。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。唱到这就要哽咽了。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。来，我们看会发生什么事。Ctrl F8，你看刚好 F8就念 F8，你看死惨惨。Finally 2元运算子，哇哇哇，哇，这是什么东西啊 ？L active 哦，还有 L active。没有，对啊，它不支援，可见2元运算子不支援什么？啊，不是加运算递增运算子。细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。吹月后，月涌大江流。名岂文章，我们把刚刚对的写一遍。名岂文章著，因为它优先权嘛，就不用加括号。官应老病休，飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。请按任意键继续。好，第2题也解出来咯。第3题，来认真赢啊！细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。这为了对齐我们这个，就细垂平野阔，认真， 夜风啊，就可以加一首了哈。危檣独夜舟，这个可以换我现在的 IP，IP 都换了。啊，是啊，在台大中午吃饭我都忘了，真的那时候还记得，所以还好那时候我记得，忘了哦，原来是花明两岸柳飞微，倒叶风光春雨归，是水不流，是歌谣等有空意，就回河港万里，河望万木飘残雪，沦落蒹葭待人回。花明两岸柳飞微，倒叶风光春雨归，是水不流，是歌谣等镂空影，旧土飞，河港万木飘残雪，村落蒹葭待人回。凭吊断，凭长望，寒林萧瑟梦马飞。爱要怎么说出口？我的心里好难受，我都不敢弄了，到时候说版权什么。你看后来我就附这个书图嘛，让眼泪流。第一次握着你的手，指尖传来你的温柔，每一次是深情的背后，多少愁，多少愁。四库馆还没开呢，那时候温方刚也还年轻，所以他大概跟我研究的温方刚是同时代，年纪也差不多的人。认真赢啊！拍谁？第3题啊！原来时间都是这样耗掉了，一下就4分钟啊！唱一首歌要2分。第3题。这是考你还要存取成员。这个，你看他都已经标错，我们先不要管他怎么错。他先读这个 iterate 是迭代器，没有这个成员啊。empty 是 vector 才有 empty 啊。那string 也有 empty 啊，所以你应该是要这样改。这个我们就不录它错误了啊，这个要更正成这样才行。要先解参考之后，因为解参考的等级比较低嘛，在 empty 就 OK 了。那你 一样，我们怎么能够它是不是 empty？ 当然都不是，我每一个都是有东西的，所以传回来都是 for 是0嘛。看一下，怎么说都你看000 for 总共有8个 for， 8个，然后就离开回圈。一个 for， 对不起，离不开了因为它没有迭代下一个，对不对？它永远都是没有往下面移，所以它永远不会等于0。你看，用再多次也不会。所以应该这里要完了之后要给它这个才行。怎么说都是错。如果能够让我来看花，这样就可以了。别再为我躲，还要怎么说出口？我的心里好难受。1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8，结束。所以它都不是 for 嘛 ，for 是0。细草微风，1、2、3、4、5、6、7。这是错的，为什么？因为你这样的话就会跳，所以刚刚为什么是7？你看啊，1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8还是8？我怀疑它是，好吧，8就8吧。也是8。因为，对了，没错。那加它也是保留原来的嘛，它会解参考，所以第一个对。那假如我们加一个是加一个空的在里头，不要破坏多格式。那最后一个就会是1了。细草微风啊，现在有9个嘛？5、6、7、8、9。危檣独夜舟，为什么？星垂平，1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8。星垂平野阔，1对不对？出来了。因为我没有中断嘛，它按下一个它就直接跑掉。现在试一试。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。你看1出来了。最后一个是 empty。所以 empty 是这时候 empty 是谁的成员 ？string 哦，不是 vector 啊。vector empty 是指 vector 没有元素，我们这个是有元素。细草微风啊，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。你看现在存这个档就比较快了，以前要存半天，因为不再用那个叫什么Java。好，今天12点够本了，那只能这里了。下一个条件运算子不行哦。哇，我弟弟怎么今天 还没，不会吧？还没有发布，还是哦？细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔。月在上一集啊，月涌大江。阿弥陀佛，各位朋友，各位菩萨，各位同学，大家早安。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。阿弥陀佛，各位同学，各位菩萨，各位同学，大家早安。阿弥陀佛。危檣独夜舟，星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。第一了啊，第一了。第一是这个，看到哪里错，我们再帮我订正。哦，这个是完全正确的，对不对？对，解参考哦，对，这跟刚刚那个一样啊，0000。解参考之后，所以你用箭号就不用再刮起来了，因为它会先解参考，然后再存取它的成员。解参考之后，这是元素，所以它这个也是 string 的 empty， 就像刚刚讲的，它就是一只00001。细草微风岸，这我们不要在这里啊，在这。那出回圈的时候，啊，惨了！喂，这怎么办？无穷回圈，你看，关掉就好了，就有这个好处。然后免得弄到宕机，那个忘记给他。危檣独夜舟。你看这个时候他会先执行解参考，解参那个箭号的权限很快很大哦，所以我们这里一定要加括号，保险一点啊，不要去。你看1661，对不对？它是比后缀的还要强，所以不要以身试法。虽然它离得比较近啊，看会不会有影响？试试看。Build success 可以耶，真的。0，真的可以耶。可见它由左到右，因为你这个没有问题啦，它不是两边的运算式，对不对？我们做了中断点哦，00001，对不对？1234，1234，对。这还对了，那你加保险一点，加 parentheses 也是108。好，是不是00001的？ 我们就故意不加，因为可以彰显，对不对？虽然它优先权高于它，对不对？可是你看，如果变异器的话，它一定这里先估算，可是左边是有加，所以它一定先算这个，把这个当成这个的运算元，对不对？它左运算元一定会把它这个加放在里面，所以它还是会，虽然它的优先性比它低一层，它还是会先估算。好，这样也 OK 了。那我们不要再那个贴那么多这个了啊。细草微风岸，沉潜啊。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休，飘飘何所似？杜甫是不是在谢谢我？哇，他死那么久了，人家说死了到骨头都可以拿来打鼓了，他死得更久，骨头都不知道到哪了。是不是感谢我？这突然给我一个灵感，为他的诗谱上一曲。那这里有加，OK。刚刚那个也是对的啊，只有第二个是错 ，B 是错。这里又出错了。看一下加，它那个意思是什么？解参考加干什么？解参考之后是元素跟刚刚那个问题一样，对不对？元素它没有这个运算元，你看，它没有符合的运算元例证。所以这要怎么改呢？解参考的加当然不能，这个没办法改这是他乱写的。你要真要改的话，要这样解参考。我现在要印出来，不行啊！你要这样，这样印出来会是什么？移动之后，第一个就印不出来了，对不对？你看，而且有没有灾难性的时候，它会超出边界，是不是这样？为什么最后会差？那你第一个，你看你刚刚第一个就出不来了嘛？控制它一定超出边界。可是当 iterate 不等于这个的时候继续执行，怎么会造成灾难性？我是觉得它可能它是没有超过，对不对？可是它可能这加之后，它就变成这个等于这个，所以它要离开回圈。可是它会印出来这个啊。你看它把这个空值也印出来了，第一句就跳过去了，对不对？好，我们到天地一沙鷗的时候看一下。 细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。Expression is true， 解参考等于 iterate 解参考之后是等于天地一沙鷗，没有问题啊。天地一沙鷗。没有等于的两边没有这个。我试试看，该不会他要那个2个双引号吗？他不能编写。月湧大江流，名豈文章著，官应老病休，何所似？那现在是这个控制哦。飘飘何所似？已经变天地一沙鷗了。它变天地一沙鷗，它还没有到尾巴嘛？天地一沙鷗已经出来了，接下来现在是加，它会先算完这里再输出嘛？输出运算子166，一定都是横尾巴的嘛？它变成位元左移，位元右，那也在很后面了。所以会先执行这个。现在这个等一下就会变控制，控制之后它是前缀的，所以它已经是加减。你看，你再加一次就出错，对不对？这就是他前面讲过了，你现在再加一次，它是尾巴，尾巴不能解参考。你看，是不是？尾巴不能解参考。而且这个第一个它会跳出，加第一个就没到印到嘛，对啊，没钱细草的微草，这怎么改都不对啊？不能写在前面，除非在这里，然后这样。 这样就对了。对啊，细草，你看控制也出来了，然后出了回圈了。细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔。对，这要这样改才行。月涌大江流，名岂文章著，官应老病休。好，一也 OK 了。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。这一样，这先不给他们。加加，哎，这就是我们刚刚那个嘛，对不对？F 就是。你自己看，对不对？就是这个了，已经帮他，这个是合法。可是这合法里头有一个问题，就是他为什么会先执行这个？我想的就是像我们刚刚讲，我一般他是先要箭号，可箭号的话，它左边一定要是一个物件，它不可能用运算子去。那他要这个物件，他就再往前找，就会发现他后面有这一个，他一定要先处理。怎么会漠视这个，然后先让他解，然后再加？好奇怪，刚刚发现不是这样。那最好保险还是刮起来，对不对？一件钱。我弟弟今天是不回来吗？好，今天就到此圆满喽。刚好在我们杜甫旅夜书海里头，我们也抒怀了。再上一天就晚安了，夜梦吉祥哦。细草微风岸，危檣独夜舟。星垂平野阔，月涌大江流。名岂文章著，官应老病休。飘飘何所似，天地一沙鷗。阿弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛。这个我们好像前面的那个实境秀有稍微解说，以后有缘也会再解说，多的是机会啊！你们也可以直接来问我啊。阿弥陀佛，各位朋友、各位菩萨，大家早安。在继续之前，我们要先来看一下这个东西。这个刚好看到还是C++ Team 的 blog 有一个，而且我们刚好是学到这个成员存取运算子，对不对？150页中文版，真好。成员存取运算，这里可以参考。 字 ，smarter。列表这在我们写的时候，当然这是跟 Visual Studio 有关的。影响到脸书。是说 Visual Studio 开发的成员一直在找办法，让我们能够用更小的成本产生出对它的结果，提高生产力。在 Visual Studio 里头编写程序的时候，在2019 16.2 的版本里2019 16.2 this version。我们已经就现在完成式的中文要翻已经所以我们是用字词去表达时态或上下文意。我们已经建立了一个更聪明而且更相关的那个成员的那个清单会吧。
We have created a smarter, more relevant member list. Relevant.
“现在更最特别的，特别是
Specifically. Specifically.
特别值得一提的是，我们现在用了一个叫做方法过滤器 （method filter） 过滤 based on type qualify 借由这个型别的指定符来套用方法基于这个机制我之前一直想不到的词，那些基于基于这个机制type qualify， 看你给了什么 type qualify， 然后它去套用适当的方法。尤其在提到这个 member 嘛，它这个是 member 方法，有成员函数了解想要进一步征服，可以想一下下面的例子。你有两个 vector， 两个向量，刚好我们学过向量 ，but one is count， 一个是长值的，让我们调用一个了解了，这就是型别的限定符count， 还有 qualify。你这个型别是 count 指定嘛，限定。修饰它，其实应该是说修饰 ，qualify 是一个修饰词。限定词，它原来是修饰嘛，修饰你给予什么资格，你需要的是什么。调用就或者写 cout 都可以。
Invoke。
当我们需要这个成员清单的时候，在对这个非常值的 vector， 我们写了选 for punch 非常值，因为可以改变它的那个什么值嘛我们前面学过 pushback， 就是把那个 vector 成员增加 你可以先建立一个空的 empty 的 vector， 然后再 push back。因为这个 vector 是要 non-count， 那 count 就绝对不能 push back， 它是不能再动。然而当我们调用这个成员在这个长值的 vector 的时候 ，Visual Studio now known not to display any non-count member 不能。那 Visual Studio 现在就聪明到可以知道，调用长值绝对不能用到非长值的成员所以就非常值的成员应该就只会更动你对象的那个值的成员尤其是方法，通常的方法才会跟对值有所异动，包括所谓的属性设定 svec.begin， C# 里头大概是这个然后再来是 on a count object 它现在知道在一个 count 的对象或物件上面是不能显示非那个，这应该是 GIF 档这个动画。不信你下载这个图片档，变成图档，应该是 GIF， 对不对 ？GIF， 这个动态。My vector counts as is the vector my counts vector。那在 my counts vector 的时候，你看可以找到 my vector 可以搞到 pushback， 它是显示的。那 my counts vector 的时候 pushback 就不见了 ，push p 没有它pushback， 那么 pushback 它是一个非常值。就是不只是过滤器而已或者说可以过滤更多的东西了 ，even more 就是修饰 filter 嘛，比过滤器更多 ，even 就在修饰 more， 双层的修饰。那俗话讲，就比过滤器还要过滤器如果你想要得到and complete 完成过滤波，完全过滤器就是说，它过滤完的时候可以完成程式码。想从这个成员清单和那个过滤器中得到自动，这应该可以说成自动完成，得到更大的利益的就试着以下的方法完成过滤就试着用我们的预测的智能预测，智能感知
intelligence, predictive,
预测智能感知
predictive intelligence,
experimental feature that is disabled by default。它在预设是没有启用这个功能的原来是还在实验的功能，默认下禁用。
experimental,
还在测试贝塔版的意思。Can be enabled under tool option has added。文字编辑器里头的C++ experimental C++ 实验性的功能simply type predictive in Ctrl+Q search Ctrl Q search 就这个 Ctrl Q， 它会跑到这。predictive intelligence， 这里就有experimental， 所以输入这个就可以了。experimental，
predictive, experimental,
这个要记一下。
intelligence,
这个因素 or assign position。那现在呢，这个智能预估可以翻成智能预估、智能预测、智能预测估算。目前它可以用在这个引数的区域或者在那个指定的那个运算式里头，参数或赋值位置。赋值就是指定值啦，赋值话那么文言文，这赋是动词啊，不是词赋的赋，赋予天赋的赋。天赋的赋本来就是上天给予你，后来改成名词嘛，是这个人天赋怎么样？按类型进行过滤。按类型就白态过滤怎么样过滤？后位修饰按这类型去。In the example below， 像下面的 I is a type in， 你看这个习惯 I 就 in 用 in 表示第一个字母。So predictive intelligence predictive only show in the item in a comparative list 在完成的清单中，那它这个完成列表就指这里了，叫你想要跟完成列表。所以这所谓的完成过滤就是这个它已经经过过滤过后的清单。predictive intelligence predictive intelligence 那你看 in 一个 my int 等于4，初始化为4，然后 my string 它这个全名称引用它没有用 using， 所以要这样写 my string 等于 not in， 然后 in I 等于 my， 你看 in I 等于 my，in I 要等于一个变数，那你前面已经宣到2个，它就会往前面找。那 in 的话，这个是它就不会找，你看2个 my 嘛，它就不会找 my string。这是它 off 的时候 my string 有没有？这2个都会出现。那只要你把它 turn on 把它启用的话 ，my in my string 就不会出现。这是很大的倚重，这个 Visual Studio别忘了 很大的倚重这个完成清单呐、就是帮你完成的清单就要完成清单。它的意思你要把意思翻成，你不能完成清单。完成清单中文的这种词汇的意思好像把清单完成，不对，是帮你完成，不要抓错对象，对不对？这就机器翻译才会这样嘛。你人要翻成铸成清单，铸谁？当然也知道是铸，我是既然会说铸成是铸什么东西成嘛，就不会再是清单了。帮助谁完成？假如你真的要文言文，就叫铸成清单白话一点就帮助完成清单帮助完成就是你不要打那么多字，直接按个 Tab 键或者 Auto 向右键，它就可以完成。然后我之前试过，它 Tab 键好像不行，它要用这个什么 enable，会的 intelligent provide a filter context alright， 上下文提示清单 result member list， 成员清单 The list can be expanded to show more result. I click the show more result button 它可能后面也会提到了，它虽然被过滤了，可是只要你按下可以按下 Show More Result， 按下显示更多的。我们是英文版，它应该是一样的，所以用英文版好处就不会有中文要翻的乱七八糟又不统一。战国时代，那这里可能翻这个，然后到时候你看到又是另外一个。Show More Result button 的话，就按错这个 button 就会显示更多。Click here to go online and find other Visual C++ experimental Visual experimental 实验性的功能。文字编辑器。Your computer might show different name or location.
Locations.
Location. 就是说，以下的东西可能根据你的环境或自己的设定会有所不同不要刻舟求剑。就好像刚刚提到这个中文话翻译不同嘛，你自己得灵活去套用，不要以为一定是这样。今天碰到台风菩萨，所以我们已经刚刚开的忘记看完了，就来录，开了太多视窗，我们就给它出了。我们可以把这个我们设定的再汇出去。Export。敏感的资讯的设定，或 svec。 帮我们备份吗？哦 ，saving， 这个是 Visual Studio 的。我们是放在 Dropbox 里，喜欢放在2019 CD。已经半个月，几乎是1个月过去。这个你看哦，我这里make 的，可以耶，还是可以，可是要等到它。还是可以按 Tab 键，我怎么记得有这东西？按 Tab 键就可以。Auto 向右键。那一定要。一定要在它清单出来的时候按 Tab 键，不过就 Auto 向右就可以。iterate 嘛 ，Tab 键就可以。一样。暂停一下，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，等一下。来，我们来试试看哦。这个比如说，因为我们有用这个 using， 所以才不用像它这样写。using display。你看，只有 I 不见了，对不对？对啊，就是 I 被它过滤。那它这里没有说更多啊。show Ctrl J 就可以 ，print show only test match result。Ctrl J I 出来了。你看，你不按 Ctrl J I 不见了 IS， 相关 IL， 对不对 ？Ctrl J 的话就多很多，哇，一大堆，所以它只会显示跟你相关的。哇，搞半天。实际上同名性很多的时候就方便，好吗？好，实验成功。If you ever wish to unfilter the computer, just click the green 对啊 symbol in the bottom left of the list 没错。这个 ever 就是任何时候。如果你想要去，只要意思就翻成只要了只要你希望不要过滤这个完成的清单 ，just clear green 加，我就说它后面会讲没错。再 清单下面的你看 ij 因为都是 in， 还可以等于它本身的。啊，只要点这个下面的绿色加，可以显示 ii 出来。目前是没有写。讲的是这个 green 加号 symbol talk to us。You have feedback on member is 成员清单啊，活力 filtering。Would love to hear from you. We can delete via the comment below. 我们可以借由下面的你的意见，或者通过 email 来收到你的评论。We can be reached， 我们可以被到达嘛，就可以被接触到，联络上。如果你碰到其他在用 Visual Studio 或者 MSVC 或者 OHAVS 一些建议的时候，碰到一些问题，你可以用 Report Problem Tool。Visual Studio 里头有 Report Problem Tool 的东西，或者还有 Over to Visual Studio Develop Community， Head Over 前往开发这个什么
Head over.
You can also find us on Twitter. And follow me. 你追踪他。好。西加加专家有缘就follow，还有多少follow？啊，有332，有幸成为333。啊，那也蛮实用的，至少这个东西中的，我们就截取精华就好了。启用它，停止它。这是取消功率。好，圆满。下一个我们看这个通知，我们要记下来。下一个我们看。这个我想要用这个，我很占篇幅。可是只要用超连结的话，到时候它要贴到那个 YouTube， 它不会显示出来。第二个是看这个，这个，是这个，这就是刚刚看到了哦，分享这个就圆满了。我今天还有一个要看的。阿弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛哦。那也是 Visual Studio。那个粉丝专业可以参考，暂停一下啊。阿弥陀佛，你先暂停，等一下看一下。我记得还有一个，应该是这个吗？改变那个它 Visual Studio 这个主题颜色，我觉得这个还好。哦，这个，啊，读一读看那个它是怎么处理我们的问题的。这个就圆满。 那我要先来看白眼脑程式，9点半，然后我们就先暂停。然后那个还要扫一下我这个C++这本书，继续往后扫。现在进度快一点了，就可以很快扫一扫。准备上课了，9点半就要上。那我们把握时间。就点3下就可以诊断了，而它并不是真的选出诊断。好，暂停哦，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛。各位菩萨，我们继续看这个 status on Visual Studio Future 这个事情。我们对 Visual Studio 的建议他们是怎么处理？我看这个好像篇幅都不大，所以可以读一读。我不会逐字翻译了值得讲的我才讲。顺便值得一提的是，刚刚看脸书才发现，原来我们的台风菩萨有大发慈悲。可是我是去了正头佛堂听常律老和尚讲佛陀真实的一生，佛陀基金。才知道他们也是很用功，所以他们认为是他们都有了，我想，那我们认为是我们。你说我一个人的力量哪有那么大？不要小看自己。佛道同尽是尽虚空变法，跟借共持一报身。那你可以看去年，正好去年刚满1年而已，玛利亚台风的故事我跟玛利亚台风的因缘。不要再相信人类这些，你想想看，人里头有，当然里头很多好人或什么，对不对？我们也不能否定，可是你看绝大多数或者我们一般会看到的是好人吗？我的好人标准很高像。至少是天界或者人道中真正的好人，不是不做坏事不犯法的就叫好人。那你标准定那么低，你不要想什么。你刚看这几天或者台风菩萨来之前，像前天还昨天还有那个地震菩萨，绝大多数人都在干什么就知道了。随便。有时候不可思议啦，不信的还是不信，就是个人世界因缘。真的值得一提。你说这个你要怎么解释？为什么突然转向？不是说非要来吗？他在那叫嚣，这些人不知道在干什么，然后巴不得天下大乱一样。我们心里想的是什么？台风不大，它形成要不要消失？这种生死，希望他赶快往生西方极乐世界。台风菩萨受难的这些菩萨、这些众生也是一样那你想想看，哪一个新闻，哪一个人这样想、这样做观想，你就可以知道这个世界为什么是这样的。那即使是少数，然后虔诚的人，甚至不是少数虔诚的心、诚心这样慈悲心，你还感召的不可思议。有些不能讲得太透，我们还没到怎么样的时候，我们都不敢讲太透。可是我们也得把事实真相给你们证明出来，否则你们都觉得没有这一回事，迷信。讲了 N 遍，我们以前也是觉得这是迷信，就是自己扪心自问，你做到什么？我以前在观人家迷信的时候，有没有这样去想台风菩萨和台风菩萨受难的这些众生菩萨？当你这样发心去想的时候，如何不可思议，已经具体摆在眼前，自己看着办吧。那如果台风菩萨真的要来怎么办？那就来啊！如果他来了，是不是也要消失？我们还是那个心，就是让他自己去决定嘛。我也是从昨天晚上一直这样发想。 对不对？那我们不是凭借着自己怎么样就台风不可能来了，我们该做的防台我们也加多少做一做，自己也会注意，可不会像疯子一样，就这样好像在追星，对不对？巴不得台风来，巴不得台风形成怎样的？你自己看看我们在那报什么那些科学家、那些气象家、那些新闻记者，觉得很阿弥陀佛，不要讲什么。你觉得佛菩萨会像他们这样做吗？圣人会像他们这样做就好啦。你知道凡夫跟圣贤是差在哪里？自己好好想想就知道了嘛。那你去问问这些人，他们相不相信有圣贤、有上帝、有佛菩萨？一定也不相信了。难怪他们敢做这些事。自己保重吧。好好解释，像去年玛利亚台风一样，好好解释，不要跟我讲什么突然转向，突然什么，不是有科学性，好好去研究解释它为什么转向，为什么减弱。你前面讲什么直播台湾怎么扯一大堆，还你看今天还放假，你现在在扯什么？去年科批一样嘛，科批我们科市长嘛，台北市。你说什么科批好神，怎么一讲台风就转向什么的？你自己看去年的报道就这样，让台风不来，台风形成要来就一直大肆报道，不来的一笔带过，然后就开始我行我素继续了。这些人能够让台风转向啊？台风为什么转向，然后不去研究，不去了解？阿弥陀佛了哈。一个月就可以收到500个关于功能的建议改进的建议呢在开发者社区里头。大量的都是有
volume，
所以这个也可以讲音量、声量，对不对？那你要从上下文情境才知道应该是用大量，尤其它用成形容词 lvalue and steps that we 这些大量的东西，它这里是指大量的东西，这是名词嘛？这样大量的反应回馈和处理的步骤，我们 take to respond to them all，我们对他们处理的步骤。现在翻成 ticket， 当然不对，这应该是现代的流行口语，所以他也翻不出来。就是说，这些建议被我们阅读之后，当然是这个意思。我们收到这张票，你的建议的时候，我们会采取怎么样？会发生什么事？应该是这个，我推上下文，你看，只要我推中文就知道程度是怎么出来的。不是我英文好，我英文才不好，你们也见到。中文好，语言好，你会冷静去分析、去判断上下文，去判断他要讲什么。不要不好就完全不懂。How many make it into 有多少他们被采用到 Visual Studio 的话 happen to 其他的呢？Let's find out， 让我们看一看吧，了解一下。对啊，一个月就有500件。这些建议他们现在的状况是怎么样？我会到从这里开始吧，是分解，就是从这里全部不可能。我们 incoming section 在这6个月，从这里开始，从6个月前开始， 所以你看 ，our income succession ticket 嘛，怎么样的 breakdown？ 传入的建议票，对不对？所以就传入的建议，就是我们刚刚理解的。这个 breakdown 就是明细目，就是清单吧，类似毛病。所以这不是从这里开始的意思，是 break down，break 就破掉嘛 ，down 那抛锚，就是这6个月提出的建议里头指出的那个问题。We find like around 15%，发现有至少5%不是1/5的建议是很具挑战性、很费力的，对。很难采取行动，就是太不着边际了，或者怎样。我们分属于 bucket 的，好像前面我们学过，对不对？水桶是一个区块。前面我们在学那个成绩分类，它也是用 bucket 的。Close duper 相似就是很难采取，就是作为副本它会被副本。他在说这些建议有15个，就是当做副本，就是有些建议可能重复了类似。Cause due to missing information from customer， 有13%是因为客户缺少信息而关闭。所以你提出问题要具体一点。还有1%不是为了 Visual Studio 建议，那他也不转给相关的部门这 lane 应该不是 customer，应该是啊，不过 lane 是谁？还有分类让这些问题建议分类。
Triaged. Triaged. Under review and gathering votes and comments.
所以其实大概10%才有在处理，有个结果。新的到审查中。没有到它要分几步，是 moving on from under review reason 讨论这个。这个我不太想看了啊，跟我们这个比较没有关系，大概。actionable 可以行动，可执行的啊。比如是1个礼拜有1个建议被采纳而且完成，对，听起来好像不多，可是实际上不是很难哦。小蚂蚁菩萨的那么喜欢爬到我的身上。Every single weekday, the visual engineer team implements a community summit section.
Sprint. We must do better. We can do better. 来把它划掉，改成 must。Maths。
transparent.
你才知道我英文多么差，读起来还是很吃力，真正的意思无法正确的掌握。所以你国文差或者文言差，怕什么？对啊，天下无难事，只怕有心人。重要的是，真的方法很重要。我事半功倍，你说我们不努力嘛？花这个时间来读，可是你不希望事半功倍，就要注意方法到底有没有用对。再来，我也不是花很多时间看一下，因为 Visual Studio Debug Tips and Tricks 我之前也学了很多一些小技巧，你现在可以看到，刚刚演示给各位的 tab 也是这样，从这里来的，所以稍微看一下有没有什么值得写，时间还好，18分钟。
On today's toolbox, we're going to continue fixing the app we started working on last week, and Leslie will show us a On today's toolbox, we're going to continue fixing the app we started working on last week, and Leslie will show us additional tips and tricks for debugging.
在外面好，所以里头虚拟电好多会这样破破的。暂停啊！还有第一集，旁边没那个时间看了。
On today's toolbox, we're going to continue fixing the app we started working on last week, and Leslie will show us additional tips and tricks for debugging. Hi, welcome to Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Robert Green, and joining me today for part 2 of our debugger tips and tricks is Leslie Richardson.
Hey there.
Hey, Leslie.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank
haven't
you.
changed a bit since we recorded the last episode.
I know. It was almost like it happened like 5 minutes ago.
Almost.
Yeah.
So refresh our memories. What did we see in part 1?
Yeah, so in part 1, we talked about a lot of different things, from run to click, set to next statement, text visualizers, debugger display, which is my personal favorite, and of course conditional breakpoint.
条件式的中断点，我们上次演示
Points, trace point. The list goes on.
Cool. And so what are we going to see today?
So today we're going to see a lot of different things, including some of the new 2019 features like search for the watch window, manage data breakpoints, and then other little things peppered throughout in the watch window, such as return value, keywords, and format specifiers.
All right, cool.
Goes on.
All right, we're using the same app.
Yes.
Which, in spite of the fact that we spent all last week fixing it, still isn't 100% correct.
Yeah. Still many, many problems.
We like to mimic the real world on this show.
Right? Fair enough. Yeah, so again, as a refresher, this is the same app as in part 1, but it's an app that will randomly give me a list of books that I can choose to read and add to my shelf, or I can choose not to read it and it won't be added to my shelf. So there's several more bugs that we didn't fix last week or throughout the week either, so they're still here. So let's investigate those. So I'm going to add a book, in this case, this book called Middlemarch, to my shelf. And when I click on it, one of the problems I've been experiencing revolves around this string here that says that I've read the book 1 time.
Already?
So,
wow.
Yeah, already. I know.
Well,
I haven't even heard of this book.
That'd be an easy way to get through your 100 books done.
Exactly.
If you just click and mark it as read.
Right? Yeah, just say I already read it.
And then I'm going to predict that that date is an issue.
Yep, that date is also an issue.
Looking ahead.
Lots of problems going on here.
Okay.
Yep, so what's supposed to happen is when I select I finished this book, this value should increment by 1. And it's already saying I read 1 time, which is ominous in and of itself. So if I say that I finished this book, it should jump from 1 to 2. But if I do it in this case, it's jumped from 1 to 4.
Oh.
So either I subconsciously read this book 3 more times in the last 30 seconds, or there's something going on in Visual Studio in my code. So.
Oh, and then the date changed.
Yeah, oh, yep.
Correct.
All right, so let's see if we can fix that problem of reading it 3 additional times out of nowhere.
Okay.
So I'm going to set a breakpoint at the start of my index function here, and that will hit when I go back to my shelf page. And from there, I want to hone in on that specific book, which was called Middlemarch. I can't even remember the title, and I've read it 3 times, apparently. So from there, instead of simply expanding until I find what I want, I can use the brand new search tool available in the autos, locals, and watch windows for Visual Studio 2019.
Yes.
So from here, I'm going to do Middlemarch. I think I could just say middle. And as you can see, I'm directly taken to where I need to go.
So cool. And again, that is new in 2019.
Yeah, it
now,
is brand new.
If I remember correctly, you wrote a blog post on that?
I did. I recently wrote a blog post on.
侦错的时候，我们常常侦错嘛。侦错的时候，它是 watch， 所以你看英文版就方便，就是它就是 vector。为什么错？就是没有。英文版方便，它就是不会有差别是什么字就是什么字，会又翻另外一个字，不会偶尔比较罕见呐，有的时候还是会用不同字，比如说我们常说的那个 function， 有时候又讲 method， 这习惯上的问题。Bear star， 建字开始 ，Bear star。像我们说建字，中文可能翻成建构一般现在约定俗成都用建字，不会吧？那么慢。暂停一下好了。好了，这 watch 里头，它这里有 search，Ctrl 1就可以 search。那它那个是比较复杂，里头还有那个，那这里看不到，所以它可以用 search 的时候把它反白选起来，不错虽然听不太懂他们在讲什么，看演示大概知道有什么功能就可以了。暂停一下，阿弥陀佛。
Go to aka.ms watch window search and let's check it out.
Cool.
For more detailed info. So from there, I have that, and also notice that as I start typing, it will automatically start highlighting for me. So in the case you don't want to execute the full search, you can just type away, and if it's visible on screen, it'll start highlighting and you can find things that way as well. And especially this is really nice if you have a bunch of items in the watch window at a time, which can save you the trouble of having.
And does that do both the name and the value?
Yeah, so you can search for name, value, or type if you wanted to. So if you just wanted to see all the types, I can type in reading list, and as you can see, it'll start going.
Okay, cool.
All right, so from there I have middle March, and I'm specifically interested in a property that this book has called times read, and this is the property that's supposed to increment every time I finish it. So I'm going to go into times read. Only this time I get a notification telling me that it couldn't be found, but luckily it's giving me the suggestion to bump up my search depth to a larger number. So I'm going to change the search depth here to 3 so that I can search more thoroughly.
Does it default to 2?
For me, I set my default to 2, but normally when you first download Visual Studio for the first time, it's set to 3.
Oh, where do you change that? Is that an option?
Yeah, or basically
just
it just
remember the last thing you set. Okay.
It'll remember. So if you set your search depth to 10 and then you exit out of the session and start a new one, it will remember that you were at 10.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I'm going to bump mine up to 3. And then I'm taken to that particular property, again, saving me some time of having to remember where that property is. And now the case that I'm trying to deal with is, why is this times read property changing without my knowledge? And normally this is when I might have to play some trial and error and try to narrow down where it could possibly be coming from, but I ultimately don't know where that location could be. So I can use something called a data breakpoint, which has existed in C++ for a while, but is brand new to managed code users in .NET Core 3.0 in 2019. So this is a breakpoint that will allow me to halt my code when a specific object's property changes, even if it goes out of scope. So I'm going to use that in order to track down the problem. So I can right-click on that property and then select break when value changes. And I know that the data breakpoint's been created because I have the standard breakpoint icon there.
Nice.
Yep. And of course I can see it along with the rest of the other breakpoints that I have in the breakpoints window. And then if I scroll up a little bit to the top of this item, an object ID has been created. And this is how Visual Studio will be able to keep track of that object if it ever goes out of scope while my program's running. So from there, I'm going to hit continue and perform that same action again, and hopefully I get some quick, fast, useful information. Yeah, and so this time I get a notification telling me that my data breakpoint has been hit, with an added bonus of telling me what the previous value of that particular property was and now what the new current value is. And it will also redirect me to the exact location where that change came from. So in this case, obviously it's coming from the property setter, which makes sense, but ideally I like to know what I called it. So I can go into the call stack and then just double click here, and then I'll be taken to where that setter was called. And in this case, it's happening in my get shelled book function, which I don't need because I already set the times read property to be
so
incremented
when you
elsewhere.
retrieve the list, so the fact that you got the book off the shelf is being.
我们那个实境秀就先不录啊，有需要说明我再录，因为这个是公开的，你们自己去看啊。只有那个脸书直播当然非得录不可。
Wondering, how did I not know about that? Go to step into specific. I'll get a drop down with all the different places I can go to.
You know what? We need to add a feature to Visual Studio where when you hover over something, it will tell you when it first appeared.
Right? That would be amazing if there's an extension for that.
Yeah.
Or it's like a Visual Studio history extension.
Exactly.
When it came out.
Yeah. Just for fun.
Yep. So you can pull your hair out wondering, how did I not know about that? Seriously?
And you can lord it over your friends.
Right? Oh man, yeah. So from there, I can select person.toString, and just as if I were to use the regular step into, it'll take me into that function. Yep, so super great. So this one's pretty straightforward. It's just returning the value of the parameter that I gave it, in which case it was just my name. So I'm going to step through it and then step out. Then I'm back to this line again. So from there, now I want to look into the finish toString method here. So step through it and then step out. Then I'm back to this line again. So straightforward, it'll take me into that function. And just as if I were to use the regular step into, it'll take me into that function. Yep, so super great. So this one's pretty straightforward. It's just returning the value of the parameter that I gave it, in which case it was just my name. So I'm going to step through it and then step out. Then I'm back to this line again. So from there, now I want to look into the finish toString method here. So again, using step to specific, I'm going to select that one. And here I'll be taken to the finish toString method. And I have even more stuff going on here. I have some string concatenation going on. So first, I just like to see what is the exact return value.
On today's toolbox, we're going to continue fixing the app we started working on last week, and Leslie will show us additional tips and tricks for debugging. Hi, welcome to Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Robert Green, and joining me today for part 2 of our debugger tips and tricks is Leslie Richardson.
Hey there.
Hey, Leslie.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank
you haven't
you.
changed a bit since we recorded the last episode.
I know, it was almost like it happened like 5 minutes ago.
Almost.
Yeah.
So refresh our memories, what did we see in part 1?
Yeah, so in part 1, we talked about with this method. But normally in order to do that, because it's not currently set to a variable, at first I would think, oh great, now I gotta stop debugging and then set it to an arbitrary variable and then look in the watch window or something.
它这个刚刚是那个叫什么 step 那个记起来
Just as if I were to use the
stay into specific. $1块钱放在你好想象，你是编辑器里头的。iter 是 er 还是 o 啊？
regular step into, it'll take me into that function. So from there, now I want specific. I'm going to select that one. And here I'll be taken to the finish toString method. And I have even more stuff going on here. I have some string concatenation going on. So first, I just like to see what, and that was return value, step into specific, format specifiers, and then set to next statement made a reprise as well. So.
Cool. So now the app is perfect.
Yeah, now it's absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm never going to have any trouble with it ever again.
Cool. So over the course of these 2 parts, we've obviously seen some things that we knew were in there, learned a lot. I saw.
给各位看一下啊，这个不错，这个 return value 只不过为什么
with a list of different
为什么要加这个前符号就不知道啊。return value 这个也是蛮有用的。
Specifiers I can use. So instead of having to memorize the giant table that you'd have to look up online, it'll give me some options.
至少记下关键字以后，如果有需要的时候可以看。它可以查看。然后这个是
国人大概是这样。我前面为什么要加这个不知道，就在监看视窗里头。name。
It's right off the bat. So I'm going to select NQ, which stands for string with no quotes. Hit enter and that will...
And that's just in the watch window. You're not actually touching the running code, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, I'm not fiddling with the code itself at all.
All right.
Yeah. So, great. From there, I now want to step into yet another function. I have this finished book string here. But again, I am now out of scope because I've reached the end of the function, so I need to get back to it. And I'm going to use set to next statement again.
Debugger is right. 这个23850。你看他们刚刚游戏那个主持人，哇，惊异的那个样子，你就知道这个是多么厉害。在他第几分的时候
，so you could concatenate a couple fields.
Yeah. And then that contains some XML that you can add to or modify in order to one of my favorites, and it's an attribute called debugger display. And that is an attribute that allows you to customize your particular properties, that the type of object under the value, and then keep going to the next one and so forth until I find what I'm needing. So this also goes for if I were in the locals window as well, or watch or autos.
这样就可以跳到这个时间来看，看看。Debugger display.
And so forth until I find what I'm needing. So this also goes for if I were in the locals window as well, or watched or autos. And ideally, it would be a lot nicer if instead of getting the type of object under the value column, I could see particular properties that I'm interested in, so I can just quickly skim through this list. So thankfully, there is a feature that you can use in Visual Studio that's one of my favorites, and it's an attribute called debugger display. And that is an attribute that allows you to customize your object, customize how you view your objects in the watch, autos, locals, and data tip windows. So to do that, I can go into where I defined my class and customize how you view your objects in the watch, autos, locals, and data tip windows. So to do that, I can go into where I defined my class, and at the top of that class definition, objects in the allows you to customize your object, customize how you view your objects in the watch, autos, locals, and data tip windows. And I can write in some debugger display syntax. And the curly brackets will return the value of any property or properties, because I can go plural with it. I can also use expressions if I wanted, of whatever property that I specify.
不是采样的属性啊，所以在我们定义的这个前面有提到，好像是类别的开头，对不对？定义这个语法。
In the watch, autos, locals, and data tip windows. So to do that, I can go into where I defined my class, and at the top.
它的 class 是 book 嘛？这 class 前面 array 的顶部。
Of that class definition, I can write in some debugger display syntax. And the curly brackets will return the value of any property or properties, because I can go plural with it. I can also use expressions if I wanted, of whatever property that I specify. In this case, I want to view books by their title property, so I'm going to type in title. And I'm also going to have to restart the debugging session. But hopefully this is where the magic happens. So this is an attribute that exists currently in F Sharp, and Visual Basic. So this is for managed users, but if you're a C++ user, the equivalent that you can use that performs the same function is something called natviz, where the difference mainly is that you have to create a separate natviz file inside your project, and then that contains some XML that you can add to or modify in order to perform the thing that I'm about to show you. So I need to go back to the end of this function again. I'm going to use run to click. And I have my data tip that I pinned earlier that's still here because I never closed it. And my favorite, this is magic. Yeah.
Cool.
So cool. I love it a lot.
Okay, now here's the part where we have fun. How long has this been in the project?
Yeah, longer
把这个
than
成员里头的资料有没有？
2015. Longer than 2015. It's been around longer than.
Where we have fun. How long has this been in the project?
Yeah, longer than 2015. Longer than 2013. Yeah, it's been around for.
意思就是他可能现在才知道这功能，5年、15年前就有这个功能，大家都不知道用。再来看一下它原来是长怎样。它原来拉下来的是
Run to or set next statement. Right, because the next time you run
list. So I'm at the start of my my function here, but I actually want to navigate to the bottom here instead. So normally that would be when I start spamming F10 or step over in order to get down there, but that can be kind of tiresome, especially because I have this for loop right in the middle, so that can take a lot of time, and that's not very productive of me. So the other option, of course, is to just set a break point at the end, and F5, but then do that, and remember to repeat the break point afterward, right? Yes, set a break and the end, and then hit F5, but then if I do that, I have to remember to delete the break point afterward.
Right, because the next time you run the app and you get up and go for coffee or something, you come back, it's sitting on that break point you forgot to remove.
It's like, oh,
yes.
Okay. It's like I thought it was going to run without me while I get my coffee, but nope.
So
and another alternative is something called run to click, which I can perform by hovering over the line I want to get the data to. And when I do that, you'll notice this little green glip to that particular line.
Run to or set next statement
or
whatever.
Your code and being able to fast forward to where you is because I wanted to hone in on that book list, which stores 100 different books, because I want to quickly inspect each one. And when I hover over it, I get a data tip. But one of my problems I have with data tips from time to time is that the moment I hover away from it, it disappears. So if I want to keep it for a while longer, what I can do instead is pin it. And when I pin it, this data tip will stick around for as long as I decide to leave it until I ultimately close it.
And you can drag that to a second monitor?
Yeah, you know, I haven't actually tried. Good question. I feel like that should be possible.
Okay.
But good question. Yeah, so, and the good news about this is that when I close out of my debugging session here, it'll still be present even when I start a new one. So now if I wanted to inspect all of the contents of this list here, at first glance,
你看，对啊 ，reading list module book 它是从，你看它的成员1的话，它是从，对不对？那这样它是看 book 是整个，它刚刚 class 对不对 ？book 是整个，那成员1叫什么名字都不知道。等一下，就是把那个他用好像是 title 栏名把它列出来。
Close out of my debugging session here, it'll still be present even when I start a new one. So now if I wanted to inspect all the contents of this list here, at first glance, this isn't really helpful. Let's say I wanted to inspect each book by their names. It would be a little tedious to expand each of these out until I find there's the title property, and then keep going to the next one, and so forth until I find what needing. So this also goes for if I were in the locals window as well, or watch or autos. And ideally, it would be a lot nicer if instead of getting the type of object under the value column, I could see particular properties that I'm interested in, so I can just quickly skim through this list. So thankfully, there is a feature that you can use in Visual Studio that's one of my favorites, and it's an attribute called debugger display. And that is an attribute that allows you to customize your object, customize how you view your objects in the watch autos logo.
就是不要它预设的是看它的值，我不要看它的值，我可能是要看它栏位，栏名是什么。
And data tip windows. So
这叫 debugger display.
To do that, I can go into where I defined my class, and at the top of that class definition, I can write in some debugger display syntax. And the curly brackets will return the value of any property or properties, because I can go plural with it. I can also use expressions if I wanted, of whatever property that I specify. In this case, I want to view books by their title property, so I'm going to type in title. And I'm also going to have to restart the debugging session. But hopefully this is where the magic happens. So this is an attribute that exists currently in F Sharp, C Sharp, and Visual Basic. So this is for managed users, but if you're a C++ user, the equivalent that you can use that performs the same function is something called natviz, where the difference mainly is that you have to create a separate natviz file inside your project, and then that contains some XML that you can add to or modify in order to perform the thing that I'm going to show you. So I need to go back to the end of this function again. I'm going to use run to click. And I have my data tip that I pinned earlier. That's still here because I never closed it. And this is my favorite. This is magic.
Cool.
So cool. I love it a lot.
Okay, now this is the part where we have fun. How long has this been in the process?
Yeah, longer than 2015, longer than 2030. Yeah, it's been around for a while, longer than me, definitely.
That's my favorite part of the show.
I get asked that all the time. It's like, so is this a 2017, 2019 exclusive? Yeah. So that's one of my favorites. So another thing that I like.
You can do expressions, so you could concatenate a couple fields.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. If you wanted to do some simple type of expressions, then you can do that as well. If you're interested in seeing what one property plus another is.
Could you do something like a function that says if these three fields are missing, just display incomplete, then if they're there, display complete? Can you do stuff like that?
You can, yeah. You can do some simple if conditional type statements as well.
Cool.
But kind of do it at your own risk. My recommendation for when things start to get very complicated in your debugger display syntax is to create another property or function within that class first, called like debugger display or something like that.
Right.
Include all of that logic, and then you can write the function name inside the debugger display.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, so from there, another feature that I like are the text visualizers in Visual Studio. So, for instance, I have this JSON variable here, are the text visualizers in Visual.
Text visualizer. 另外一个是在这里。这个你看，发现有用处，我们精神都起来了。没有像前面那个一时看文字的，一时反应不过来就没办法。再少个5秒钟。
Yeah, so from there, another feature that I like are the text visualizers in Visual Studio. So, for instance, I have this JSON variable.
翻的蛮好，看它可能原来就有字幕，所以翻的那么清楚。
are the text visualizers in Visual Studio. So for instance, I have this JSON variable here that stores all my JSON contents. And if I'm looking at it, first I need to actually navigate back to it because this is earlier on in my code and I'm currently out of scope. So what I can use for that is something called set to next statement, which I think you mentioned earlier.
Right.
So to do that, I can pretend as if I were doing another run to click, except I can hold down the control key and that green glyph will turn into the yellow icon, which will automatically move my execution pointer up to that particular line. So that's nice, especially if you want to try out what different execution paths are going to be looking like, or if you want to go back and re-inspect a previous variable. But you kind of have to use it at your own risk because since you're changing the execution flow in a way that is not necessarily intended, it has the potential to mess with the rest of your code's execution unless you restart and make a new debugging session. So from there, I have the JSON variable, and looking at it, it's not very readable right off the bat because it's formatted for JSON in particular. That, and it cuts off the screen. So if I'm looking at it in the locals window, for instance, there's this magnifying glass icon that's next to that. And I can click this drop down to get a list of different visualizers I can use. So I'm going to use the JSON visualizer because this is JSON. And this time I get a lot better of a formatted view, so I can quickly view this giant string in its proper format, which is great. So again, if you had like a string that's catered for HTML or XML, then you can do that as well. Or if you have something that's catered for something completely different, you can also make your own visualizers. So that's pretty neat. And also, if you just have a giant paragraph of text being stored in a variable, you can just use the regular text visualizer as well.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, so
难怪叫那个嘛。你叫它文字视觉化。
So from there, now I kind of want to start looking into some problems with my application itself.
New little feature. 为什么要 little? 这样的 little.
Had a great launch, a lot of great content from the launch event. We'll have pointers to that. But what I thought we would do is a couple things. One is just have you come on and show us some of your favorite features to kind of keep the excitement going. And then two, we're going to try an experiment. We talk a lot about how long these shows should be and when do people stop watching, and I tend to go longer than people want because I tend to talk a lot. So we're going to try an experiment today. I'm going to do less talking and we're going to focus more on demos, and we're going to see what happens if we keep this a shorter episode, and then you guys are going to tell us whether or not you like it.
So I basically have 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
To show as many of my favorite features as I can.
Starting right now.
All right. So in Visual Studio 2019, I want to start with the new search experience. So we completely redid how we do Visual Studio search. And I love it. So
模糊，我已经是高清校解掉。
as I search, as I type, you see here how I get search results. And I get that globally from around Visual Studio, all the commands, menus, components, templates, all sorts of things, including options. So let me just start by going in here and make a font a little larger in the editor when we get to that. I can also say new console app. That gives me the console app template. I'm just going to say OK to create that. And that was it. I now have a new console app.
Wow.
That was fast, right?
So that's even faster than calling up the new dialog and searching in that.
It is.
Sweet.
Yes, that's why it's one of my favorite features. It makes me more productive. Yeah. So let's start coding here. So this is just the default app.
Wow.
That was fast, right?
So that's even faster than calling up the new dialog.
Console app. I'm just going to say, okay, console app. That gives me the console app template. I'm just going to say, okay. To create that, that gives me the. I can also say new.
哦，这个很重要，它就是说，就是我们建置新的，很常用啊。你建置一个新的，它就 Q new console。哎，夸奖哦，那就可以建置一个新的了。要在那，看，他那个一定是西夏，对不对？那这个2019了，我另外一个是2017，还是我们2017就放弃了？那时候是我们开始学，所以那个 C++ 需要这个了，那个就不需要。它的例子应该是。那C++的，我这个只有赚C++。我们看2017的，应该就没有这个。他说是2019的新功能。2017我目前是C# V9 base， C# 和对9 base。他把这个起始页取消掉，以前都有这个起始啊，他那个是英文版啊，我们刚好用英文版，所以可以对应。没有，你看旧的就没有。好吧，还是把这个取消。2017要把它关掉算了。一定应该是西夏。
Yes, that's why it's one of my favorite features. It makes me more productive. Yeah. So,
return.
Let's start coding here. So this is just the default static void main method I have here. Let's see if we can do something a little different. So let's create a string array. And I'm going to create a new array of strings, okay? So let's create a string array. And I'm going to create a new array of strings, okay? I'm going to put 2 strings in there. And I basically want hello world to be in an array. So I'm going to copy hello, Control C to copy, and I'm going to go straight on and Control C again on world. So now I've copied both, okay? So now I want to hit Control Shift V to insert. All right, not Control V to paste, but Control Shift V. And that gives me the clipboard ring, which is now visualized. So I can choose which of the things I've copied and insert them super easily like this.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you do a Control V, will it insert in order?
Yes. So the Control V is just a normal paste.
Right.
But Control Shift V, which has been there for a long time.
Control V has been there for a long
Control
time.
Shift V has been there for a long time too.
Oh, okay.
But as a new thing, it visualizes, you can see what's in the clipboard ring is what it's called.
So Control C has always stored multiple things to the clipboard?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So, moving on.
Oh, 这多重剪贴簿了。 多重显片符。这个星垂平野阔，危檣独夜舟。哇，哎，只有危檣独夜舟啊，还有之前记下的那么多。我刚刚星垂平野阔没有，细草微风岸。Ctrl V 啊 ，Ctrl C 有了。哦，它视觉化。我们脸书的实境秀停了。Ctrl V 就是让你可以选择。我们这一期到这里暂停，因为脸书已经结束了。准备也要用午斋了啊！阿弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛。阿弥陀佛，少造业，多念佛。我们继续哈。可以看到这个刚好有人来问我台风的问题，然后才找到去年。哎，怎么关掉？你看，马里亚台风大屠杀1年多了，真的不可思议。你看我刚刚看才知道，哦，去年还报这个台风100%清台什么的，有了回啊，这一次不是也100%吗？唉，人哦，可是不能再张扬哦。点到为止，我们只是留下记录。哪些人学乖了，还是人类要灭亡了？发现原来祖先早就注意这个，他们自己不受教，那是他们家自己的事了。对啊，你看那个报道，你点进去，对吧？网址贴出来给你们自己去，你看这些都是啊。对不对？我们按暂停录下来，把网址进去找。随便，所以有这个脸书，这个他没导就有这个好处，铁证如山。这很简单，人类世间都这样，何况以后上帝和阎罗王的审判的档案调出来，你怎么办？自己保重吧。哎，然后。Flash Pair 在 Chrome 要结束了，想出去吗？这一则信息涉及滥用。Today, Adobe announced its plan to stop support Flash and Adobe 它也不再支援，所以你看多少网站是用 Flash Player 写的，你看到时候看都是，尤其我们佛门的网站很多直播都是，明年底就要结束了，20年了 ，Flash has helped shape the way let you play game, watch video, and run application on the web. Over the last few years, Flash has become less common. 3 years ago, 80% of the desktop Chrome user visit a site with Flash each day. 3年前几乎每天都有人。Today, usage is only 17%, and continuing to decline.
Decline.
This trade reveals that migrant to open web technology. Which are faster and more power efficient than Flash. They are also more secure, so you can be safer while shopping, banking, or reading sensitive documents. They also work on both mobile and desktop, so you can visit your favorite sites anywhere. This open web technology become the default experience for Chrome late last year. 从去年底开始是Saya started 问你要不要执行什么 Chrome will continue phases out over the next few years.
Phasing. Phasing out.
Was by asking for your permission to on-flash in more situations, and even eventually disable it by default. We will remove Flash completely from toward the end. The end of. 哎呦，竟然要读完了。Say goodbye. 也不能发布吧，对啊。侠怨报复。Google 的官网资讯啊。该有的词都没有。唉，好，好，读完。刚刚那个也是我 UT 认识的，也是玩性的，性伴侣，玩性伴侣，不是真的性伴侣，
是透过 Skype 吧，或什么语音而已。到目前为止都没有视讯的，最多跟我只有语音就不错了，有偷笑。结果都是我们给人家看。那这个他不接受，我们接受到那个好。How is it?
Migrates.
除非怎么样？啊？不是该工作 ，He will work， 这怎么会分成该工作？明明是动词。我刚刚继续使用它，并且你受益。与网站运行那么2020年底以前，它还是能正常运作。分享此译文，只能用 Twitter 分享。complete， 这该工作，靠，你看吧，变成名词啦。我是要分享我的译文，他还给我分享他的。It's taken a lot of course work with Adobe, other browsers, and the major publishers to make sure the web is ready to be crash-free.
close work with Adobe。close 这里应该是做名词，所以它没有 ing 嘛，介词后面。close work 相关的工作嘛，与 Adobe 其他浏览器和主要大量密切合作，密切合作就是 close work， 确保网络已准备好。密切的，对不对？所以它不是动词，这样可以判断它是什么词性。你看哦，英文跟中文是不是类似？对啊。是不是？那现抓动词怎么判断动词？跟中文一样，你要从上下文去看这个字可不可能做动词用。那英文你看它介系词后面可以加动词吗？我们中文一定也不行，只有动词加介系词，然后点。当然，也许日文行，每个语言习惯不同，对不对？像日文它受词喜欢放前面，那我们是倒装句才会啊。对不对？那可是，在同一个语言系统，像英文不行，中文也不行。哦，又还没登录。你看 work 也可以当动词，请问哪个才是动词？对不对？Flash free。期待，这个才是动词嘛？你看介系词后面接这个是不是就要 forward to working？ 我们期待和大家一起让那个网络的经验更好。这是人名。产品经理，哎，怎么今天才通知？有几天了？小型幼稚园供奉的叫圣母玛利亚，那一个供？没有。好，我们继续这个很好，学到很多东西。刚刚是学到这个建立一个新专案，然后还有一个是什么？啊，对，多重简单破。 哎，不是，大概啊，废话嘛，对，快速建立新档案啊，大概只有在 C#， 未必吧。直接我重新运动。
Moving on, let's say that I want to take, I want to print out, I want to concatenate these two, hello and world. I want to concatenate them into one string, and that I want to write out to the console. But only, and this is a contrived example, but
这个concatenate 之前学过串接起来，谢谢这一次学习加加学了不少英文。
Control C has always stored multiple things to the clipboard?
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, moving on, let's say that I want to take, I want to print out, I want to concatenate these two, hello and world. I want to concatenate them into one string, and that I want to write out to the console. But only, and this is a contrived example, but I want to make an if statement here. Say if my list dot length is larger than 0, right, then I want to print it out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these new things I've got here. Refactoring. So we've got a bunch of new refactorings that makes it super easy to do all sorts of more advanced things. And I'm actually just going to add braces to this one like this. So that's been there for a while. But it's really helpful to have all these new refactorings that make me advanced things. And I'm actually that makes it look at all these print out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these new but only, and this is a contrived example, but I want to make an if statement here. Say if my list dot length is larger than 0, right, then I want to print out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these new things I've got here. Refactoring. So we've got a bunch of new. Right, then I want to print out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these new things I've got here. Refactoring. So we've got a bunch of new refactorings that makes it super easy to do all sorts of more advanced things I've got here. Refactoring. So we've got a bunch of new refactorings that makes it things I've got here. And look at all these print out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these print out. So I'm just going to hit dot and look at all these new things I've got here. Refactoring. So we've got a bunch of new refactorings that makes it super easy to do all sorts of more advanced things. And I'm
for 应该也可以啦 ，if for。没有啊，打个点，一点，什么拢无啊，奇怪。啊，对啊。create direct define more。Ctrl End 也有东西耶。Ctrl End 没有 ，Shift End。没有啊。为什么它有那个东西？你注意，它这个也是 string 直接用，可见它前面一定有用啊，也有可能它是那个 C#。该不会这是 C# 才有吧？真的，这 C# 的语法吗？用掉了，它就会没有了，被清掉了。你看吧。对呀，这预期的是一个 identify， 不是这个是 C# 的语法。所以现在Visual 12主打的还是 C#。我前年开始学 C# 就觉得很得心应手，VB 的还是次要，最主要的 C#。C# 最近好像慢慢有提升的那个7++是语法是这样，甚至把那个拿掉。那尾巴也是要分号的一样，你看这样就可以了。if 它也是 len。按的点也没有啊，可见 C++ 没有，对不对？那我们看11版，然后 2017可能我们就要解除安装了。我们改装到这里来，开始时。西下。它不用 using 就可以用。No， 你看 Spring 是这样。竟然还有建议的名称 VS， VS 是什么意思？星垂平野阔，名岂文章著。这个演说的又结束了。没有。哎，这个全形没有。可是只要一旦解除安装它之后，就回不来了。134。我们先装西下，然后先装西下。
I'm actually just going to add braces.
再重看一次啊！暂停，好，阿弥陀佛啊！所以都是碰到一些白痴问题啊。你已经给人家加括号，你要怎么弄？还有什么西加，还去弄西下了。然后我发现学校这个西下方面勉强也可以做了，所以还 OK 了。虽然我西下我没有给它全装，可是就是先这样。然后你这时候点一下半形空、半形点、小数点没有用啊 ，Ctrl 才行。哎，真的不行哎，难道是西加才行？那这里就可以啊，你看，这就是我刚加的。你看 ，if 大于0，你点个小数点没有用，点一个也没有用。可是说小数点
invert it visible man add braces 有没有？这就是他说的嘛。可他的选项为什么那么多，我就搞不懂。add braces， A 加加竟然没有，阿弥陀佛。A 加加只有这个，他还是比较支援C下。你看，对啊，这就是他讲的。
Refactoring. So we got a bunch of new refactorings that makes it super easy to do all sorts of more advanced things. And I'm actually just going to add braces to this one like this. So that's been there for a while. I'm actually just going to add braces to this one like this. So that's been there for a while. But it's really helpful to have all these new refactorings that make it easier to like convert code from one thing to the other, going back from link queries to for each loops and vice versa.
Cool.
Really, really helpful. So now I can simply just go down here and do a string join. I'm going to join on an empty string, and I'm going to provide a list. Now it's not going to happen here. I'm going to just force this again. Oh. So I'm going to see here, zoom in. Notice how the first two items list. Now see what happened here. An empty string. So now I can simply just go down here and do a string join. I'm going to join on an empty string, and I'm going to provide a list. Now see what happened here. I'm going to just force this again. Oh. So I'm going to see here, zoom in. Notice how the first two items, list and arcs, has a star. Zoom in. Notice how the first two items, list and arcs, has a star because IntelliCode, which is a new feature in Visual Studio, it's an optional extension at the moment, so you have to install that. But it knows the context I'm in. It knows that this particular method, the string join method, takes an array of strings. And then it knows that, oh, I actually have two that are in scope. I have arcs up here, and I have list right here. So it suggests to me those at the top of the completion list. So that's just super helpful. And I can easily insert it like that.
Cool.
So IntelliCode is really a fantastic aid, especially when you're...
还有一个智能。智能编码，或者智能编程。Intelligent code.
Dealing with. That's just super helpful here, and I have list right here. So it suggests to me those at the top of the completion list. So that's just super helpful, and I can easily insert it like that.
Cool.
So IntelliCode is...
Intel， 你看 Endl 就是取这个智能 IntelliCode。IntelliCode。
is really a fantastic aid, especially when you're dealing with new APIs that you're not so familiar with. It helps you to figure out what is the most common use patterns of different APIs.
IntelliCode is basically in IntelliSense with a bunch of AI behind it, getting very smart about it.
So we've been scanning like thousands of GitHub repos for the different languages, for C#, for instance, to figure out how people use various different APIs. And based on that, we put that into a machine learning model, and out comes a very, very clever IntelliSense engine that sits on top of the current IntelliSense. So that's very nice. That sits on top of the current IntelliSense. IntelliSense engine that sits on top of the current IntelliSense. So that's very nice. And I forgot a parenthesis here. All right. That's very nice. And I forgot a parenthesis here. All right. So let's set a breakpoint and hit F5. So now it runs, and it breaks, and I can see down here in my locals window that I have my list member here, and I can now search. So I can now search for world, and notice how it can find values that are in lists or dictionaries or whatever, no matter how deep they are in the hierarchy of things. So that's really welcomed. And that search works in autos, locals, and the watch windows. So it makes it very easy to find these hard to find sometimes values of properties and so on.
Cool.
So I'm just going to continue here, F5. And we can see the hello world is printed out, but notice it didn't close down when it was done. It keeps going, and there it goes. And that's very nice. So that was sort of some of the new things. So what you probably couldn't tell was that the step debugging was a lot faster. So as I was setting the breakpoint and it was hitting, that's over 50% faster now than it used to be.
Okay.
And that's a very, very nice thing.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell on a simple console app like this.
Yeah, right. All right. So let's make a mistake here. So I'm removing a parenthesis here, so now I have a syntax error. So at the bottom of the window, I now have what's called a document health indicator. So it tells me I have what's called so at the bottom of moving a parenthesis here, so now I have a syntax error. So at the bottom of the window, I now have what's called a document health indicator. So it tells me, without having the error list open, I can now see that, oh, I actually have one error. I don't have any warnings. But that makes it super easy for me to see that, oh, it's not green, this file actually has some issues.
Right.
And typically that's because you scroll your syntax errors out of view, and so you don't necessarily know when you try to build, for instance. So glancing at this makes it super convenient to see. And so I can navigate between these errors, Alt, page up and page down. And so that takes me exactly to where they are, and I can fix them super easily. And now, no issues found. We're good to go.
Cool. So that's in addition to the showing it on the scroll bar as well, right?
Yes, so it's just having more, well, yeah, and it gives you the navigation, so you can go very easily go between the errors and see what's going on.
To the
No issues found. The Alt, page up and page down. And so that takes me exactly to where they are, and I can fix them super easily. And now, no issues found.
No issues found. No issues found. No issues found. 我都没注意中文版是这样。这为什么才90？这90是什么？F1。他的为什么100，我的90？啊
We're good to go.
Cool. So that's in addition to the showing it on the scroll bar as well, right?
Yes, so it's just having more, well, yeah, and it gives you the navigation, so you can go very easily go between the errors and see what's going on. So I want to show another thing here. So let's just save this. Let's add this to source control.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So I'm going to right-click the solution, and I'm going to add solution to source control. And I'm going to add solution. I'm going to right-click the solution, and I'm going to add solution to source control.
음, 我们要那么久，它竟然一点就通了。所以它这个是重构上，它就比较那个是帮助。这个 photo view。是的。
Repositories.
这是什么 ？Send solution to source control。这怎么什么都没有呢？
And it's going to add it to Git. And here we go. And now it's all, first commit. Now let's make a change. And this change I want to do is I want to clean up this file a little bit. So I want to remove all the comments. And you can see there are other things here like I have unused using statement. And here we go. And now it's all, first commit. Now let's make a change. And this change I want to do is I want to clean up this file a little bit. So I want to remove all the comments. And you can see there are other things here like I have unused using statements and so on. I might even have like, let's just produce some, formatting issues here. Like I have some wrong indentation here. So I have an extension called comment remover that lets me very easily just remove comments with a keyboard shortcut like that. And now I want to do the code cleanup. And so as a new feature down here at the bottom, let's zoom in here a little bit, we can see that we have a couple of profiles for code cleanup that we can run. One of them has a keyboard shortcut assigned to it. And we can configure those two profiles in here. So I configured them to have a bunch of code fixers. Now these code fixers, I can remove them out or back into what the profile will run. And these include like sort usings or remove unnecessary usings, a bunch of things. So now if I hit Control-KE, that was the keyboard shortcut, we can see here how my code is just tightened up. And if I were to do a code review, I'm in a much better place right now because now we don't have to talk about formatting and coding style conventions and so on. We can see how I remove unnecessary usings, a bunch of E, that was the keyboard shortcut. So now if I hit Control-KE, that was the keyboard shortcut, we can see here how my Control-KE, that was the keyboard shortcut. So now if I hit Control-KE, that was the keyboard shortcut, we can see here how my code is just tightened up. And if I were to do a code review, I'm in a much better place right now because now we don't have to talk about formatting and coding style conventions and so on.
And how do you create those?
You go down here to the bottom and open the menu and click Configure Code Cleanup.
And so how do you find additional fixers to add?
So right now, the only fixers are the ones that are built in. There are 14 built in.
Okay.
So in the future, we'll see this change.
Okay.
But as of right now, we have these 14 built in. And they're super helpful. So now I have a change. I'm going to save the file. I'm going to commit it. But I'm not going to fully commit this. I'm going to call this cleanup. Instead, I'm going to stash it. So I'm just going to stash. So what happens is I don't create another branch. I basically create a stash where I take the changes that I have and put them away locally. And if you see what happened is that my changes in the source here was reverted because I took the changes and stashed them. So if you think of, if you're used to TFS, for instance, you have a shelf set.
Right.
The difference is the shelf set is actually exists in the remote server, whereas git stash only exists locally, so only on my machine here.
Okay.
But I have it right down here. I can apply it anytime I want. And typical use cases for this is, I make a change, but then I have to fix a bug really quick and I have to change branches. So I can stash my stuff, change my branch, and then come